Hello, weekly vlog. How are we doing? Happy Monday. I am still quite sick, so who knows how much energy this week's vlog is gonna have, but I am on the mend at least. My headache is at least mostly gone now, so that's a plus, but I still sound horrible. And honestly, I feel pretty horrible as well, but I'm doing okay. Today is a holiday in Canada. It's family day. So I get 3 days off this week instead of 2 from work, so that'll be great to be able to rest. I have like every other day off for this whole week, which I'm very excited about. Today, I don't really have any plans. Clearly, I'm still in my PJs, my Grinch PJs. Christmas may be well over, but the Grinch mentality never goes away. I do have to get dressed soon though, because I'm going to an apartment showing. My roommate and I have been trying to move for quite a while, but the housing market is terrible here. But I'm going to a showing shortly, so fingers crossed that one actually works out, because it is actually reasonably affordable, and that is a rarity in this town. So I'm going to that soon, and then when I get back, I will be back in my PJs, and I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, I don't think I have any plans this week. It'll likely just be a cozy week spent in bed. I've been really in the mood to watch movies lately, so I'll probably watch a couple of those. I just marathoned all 6 Scream movies the other day, and I started watching the Star Wars movies for the first time in my life last week, so I'll probably watch a couple of those this week. And I've also been really in the mood for Supernatural, since I'm doing my very first rewatch of the show, because I just never got around to watching the last season of the show, so I'm rewatching 1 through 14. That way I can finally watch the last season and see how the show ends. Somehow managed to not be spoiled for it, and I don't know how that happened. Anyways, some reading updates. Right now, I just have one thing on the go, which is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, and I am 22% of the way through that one right now. I'm doing a tandem read with the ebook on my Kindle as well as the audiobook. I was a little worried at first because I felt like I had maybe lost interest in the series, but it is the last book, so I pushed forward a little bit, and now I'm right back into the world. I love these characters. I think the world is really interesting. I love all of the Chimera, and the Angels are super cool. I'm a little bit lost as to where we are in the plot because it's been so long since I read book 2, but I'm gradually getting back into it, so I think I'll be able to figure it out at some point soon. And then my audiobook hold for Heart of the Sun Warrior just came in as well, which is the sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be starting that one shortly, but aside from those 2 things, I have like no reading plans for the rest of the week, so I have no idea what else I'm going to be picking up. So you'll find out as soon as I do, basically. But I have to go get dressed, get myself looking presentable. Wish me luck for this apartment showing. I hope it goes well, and we will chat sometime later on in the week. Weekly vlog. I hope you're all doing better than I am. I am still very sick. I'm actually more sick than I was the last time that we spoke because my cold has turned into a sinus infection. So I'm having a great time. Luckily, with the holiday on Monday, I have a pretty short week. I only have 4 shifts this week. So I was supposed to have Monday, Wednesday, and today, Friday off. But then yesterday, I did at least show up to my shift. I got like an hour in and realized that I just couldn't do it. So I only worked for 3 hours yesterday and then just came home and went to bed, and it was lovely. I got home at like 1:30, and aside from having lunch and dinner and getting up to use the washroom a few times, I did not leave my bed. I spent pretty much the entire day watching Supernatural. I finished a book and took several naps with my cat, who's also not having the best of times. You saw in the B-roll, Tony is currently a cone cat. He's in cone prison. Not right now. He's behind me taking a snooze, but my vet said that when I'm next to him and can monitor him, he's allowed to have the cone off, so I'm trying to stay next to him as much as possible because he does not like being in the cone. He's okay. He's just having a rough week. I won't go too into detail because it's pretty gross, but he had one of his anal glands rupture, which was not fun to deal with, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we got that dealt with, and he'll just be in a cone for a few days whenever I'm at work or overnight so that he doesn't lick at it and make it worse. Joys of having cats, sometimes things like that happen. And on the bright side of being sick though, I could not smell anything, which means I didn't have to deal with the smell of that because I smelled it before and it's not pleasant. So at least there's some positive coming out of being horribly sick right now. Anyways, I've got a whole bunch of reading updates in the last few days. Where do I start? Actually only 3, but no, 4. I have 4 reading updates. Okay, so first of all, last time we spoke, I was reading Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, which I finished last night. I loved this book. I thought it was so well done. I found the middle of it did drag a little bit, but the last quarter of it especially was phenomenal. It had me on the edge of my seat. It had me tearing up a couple times. There were characters who I didn't even realize that I cared that much about, had me tearing up and misty-eyed, and there were characters that I already loved to death who were just doing their thing in a way that made me very happy and very sad. So this book really took me on a whole roller coaster of emotions that I thoroughly enjoyed, giving this one a 4-star. If the middle portion of it hadn't dragged, it would have been a bit higher, but as is, 4 stars, still a solid read. Had a really fun time with this one, and I'm happy to be closing out another series as well. Check that off the list, and according to my spreadsheet, finishing off this series now has me with less than 20 ongoing series, and I love that for me. I'm at 19 right now, but I was also reading Common Goal by Rachel Reid, which is the 4th book in the Heated Rivalry series, and I adored this one. Oh my god, I lost my fucking mind over it. I gave this one a 4.5 star. It was almost a 5, but I liked Heated Rivalry just a little bit more. It had me giggling and crying and kicking my feet and just gave me all of the warm and fuzzies that I was looking for with this one. It was fantastic. I'm strongly resisting the urge to just dive into book 5 right now, but I need to focus on some other things first and not just rush through this entire series in a very short period of time. The fact that I've read 4 books in one series in about a month is kind of insane to me. But yeah, I just love these characters so much. I'm not usually like a huge fan of age gap romances. I'm not against them. I just don't typically read them because like I am not someone who would be comfortable in an age gap romance myself. So reading it just doesn't really appeal to me. And that was actually my one critique of this book, was that the older character was constantly talking about how old he is, and he's only 41, so he's not even that old, but he's constantly like every few pages being like, I'm so old, I'm ancient, I'm decrepit, and I'm like, shut up. You're not. He's in like peak physical health and he's like talking like he's dying all the time. And while I understand that self-consciousnness, it was also just like a little bit much, or it just ended up feeling more repetitive after a while. But aside from that, this was a near perfect read and I loved it so much. The obsession continues and I'm not mad about it. I'm also considering rewatching the show again. All of my Instagram reels are nothing but Heated Rivalry and I just can't stop thinking about it. So I might have to do a third watch of the show very soon. We shall see. But that's it for the ones that I finished. So today I've started 2 new books. First up is my ARC of the audiobook for Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher, which I'm so hyped for. T. Kingfisher is my favorite horror author, and I was gooped and gagged when I saw that I got approved for the ALC for this one. I'm a little bit hesitant with this one because it's an insect horror, and she does not shy away from talking about the bugs and all their gross details, as I'm sure you can imagine if you've read anything by this author. When she has a theme for horror, she really digs into it, and this is no exception. I'm about 20% of the way through it so far, and it is revolting. I was listening to it while I was making breakfast, and that was a poor choice. I had to turn it off because it was so gross that I was going to lose my appetite. So this one's going to have to be an audiobook that I listen to while I'm not doing anything to do with food. This is also narrated by Mary Robinette Kowal, who's the author of the Lady Astronaut series and also one of my favorite audiobook narrators as well, and she's doing a fantastic job, of course. So overall, great time with this one. I couldn't really tell you much about the plot of it, like beyond the absolute basics of it. It's about a 30-year-old illustrator who's going to live at this estate in like the Appalachian Mountains because she was hired by, I forget what his title is, but he's a dude who studies insects, and she was hired to go and illustrate them for him, and creepy shit occurs is all that I know. I don't know what's going on, but there are a whole bunch of really cool myths that are being thrown around and talk about people draining your blood in the forest and how you can't walk in the woods at night. So far this is sufficiently creepy, and I'm looking forward to continuing that. And then lastly for right now, I've also started on my Kindle Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sulin Tan, which is the sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I'm doing a tandem read with this one with the ebook and the audiobook. I'm on chapter 3 right now, which is about 12% of the way in, and so far I am liking it, but I'm not quite as gripped as I was with the first book, but I am very early into it, so I'm sure it'll pick up shortly, and it's doing a pretty good job at getting me back into the world without being too lost. I am a little bit lost, but that's my own fault for waiting so long to read the sequel. So no thoughts on that one yet, but fingers crossed it goes well, and then I'll also be able to at least get close to checking off another series. I know that there's also a short story collection. But yeah, I think that is it. I have zero plans of getting out of my pajamas today. I am currently in the middle of playing some Animal Crossing on my Switch, and I'll probably continue doing this while listening to Wolfworm for a little bit. And I've got Tony back here being all cuddly and cute because he's not feeling well and he just wants to be next to me, which is very sweet. Need to leave the house today, and I really don't want to do that, but I have to go and refill my prescription. But it's currently the middle of a blizzard, so that might just have to wait until tomorrow. I probably shouldn't wait until tomorrow, but I don't want to go out in general right now because I feel like ass, but also it is disgusting outside, so that's probably gonna have to wait. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yapping, get back to being cozy in bed, and we will chat later on. Hello, weekly vlog. It is Monday now actually, so we're already wrapping up the vlog here, and I've got a whole bunch of updates. It was not the chattiest vlog ever, but I have been so sick. I forget what I talked about in my last update, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but my cold, which was a horrible cold, then turned into a sinus infection. So I've been dealing with that for the last few days, and I've been in so much pain, and I've been absolutely miserable. But today is the first day where I've actually felt somewhat okay in like 2 weeks. So I'm definitely on the mend, just very slowly. Feeling mostly better, at least. So that is a start. I'll take what I can get, and hopefully I'll be better soon. But anyways, I have a whole bunch of reading updates just to wrap up the vlog with. So I think in my last update I was just starting Wolfworm by Kingfisher. I did finish that one, and I fucking loved this book. Oh my god, it was so good. I gave it a 4.5 star. It was so close to being perfect. It was horrifying in so many ways. It had me cringing and so disgusted throughout the entirety of this book. It was so good. I feel like people who like What Moves the Dead from this author are going to love this book because it's that same kind of visceral horror to it where it's just like you feel like things are under your skin while you're reading it. It was horrifying and so well done. I loved where the plot went. I thought it was really cool. The characters were really interesting. I loved the narrator for the audiobook, of course. I love Mary Robinette Kowal. And yeah, just absolutely everything about this was incredible, and I'm so happy that I got an arc of it. It was definitely one of the best Kingfisher books that I've read. It's, I would say, ooh, is it in the top 3 of best of her horror? I think so. I think this is maybe my third favorite of hers that I've read. I don't think anything could ever top The Twisted One. That's my favorite from her by far. And then I think maybe The House with Good Bones is next, I want to say. And then Wolfworm in number 3. This was a phenomenal read, and I can't wait for people to start reading it. And I hope this book gets so much hype. I had a blast with this book. As disgusting as it was also really fun. I'm also really glad that I'm able to read body horror now, because I used to not be able to handle it, period. But now when I read it, it's still disgusting and revolting and like is really hard to read. But now it's more in like a fun way, because that's the point of horror, is to give me that kind of reaction. But I'm happy that I'm able to handle that now. I ended up finishing Heart of the Sun Warrior by Lynn yesterday. This one was a bit of a struggle to read, I'm not gonna lie. I was actually going to DNF it pretty early on into the book because I was not feeling it at all. The writing was really bothering me, where it was very dramatic and like theatrical, and that was just kind of irritating to read, and I didn't care about the plot whatsoever, and the love triangle was driving me nuts. All of those things continued to be true, but I just kept reading it because I was hoping that I would find the same love that I had for the first book, and sadly I did not end up loving it the same way that I did for the first book, and I gave it, what did I give it? I still gave it a 3-star because like it wasn't the worst book that I've ever read, but it was by no means a good book, I would say. But I feel like the majority of me thinking that it's just more so of a me problem. I could see why others would like this book, but I just could not get into it, sadly. But I'm happy that I finished it at least, so that's good. I will still read the short story collection, the, what is it? It's just Tales from the Celestial Kingdom. I will still pick that one up at some point in the hopefully near future, but sadly the conclusion to this duology was a no from me. And then I also ended up picking up an ebook. I wasn't really sure what I was in the mood for, so I decided to do a little challenge that I want to start doing more often, because I like on Storycraft where every time that you refresh the homepage, it shows a different selection of books on your to be read pile. So I figured I would open Storygraph and just read whatever the first thing that pops up on the home screen is that's on my to be read pile. So I did that and ended up picking up Our Monsters by Jemma Topaz, I think, which is a trans girl monster fucker romance, and it was weird and honestly not very good, but it was fun at least. But I'm giving it a 2.5 star, so it wasn't a good book by any means, but it was really entertaining at the very least. It's about this human girl who ends up joining a council on the monster side of town, and throughout the course of this novella she ends up sleeping with all of her coworkers, and it's just chaotic and messy, and there's also a murder mystery going on in the background. It was weird and chaotic and very messy and a little strange in so many ways, but it was at least entertaining enough to finish it. So I don't necessarily recommend it, but like it was fine. It was a good like palate cleanser sort of read, but not one that I'll be revisiting, and I definitely will not read the sequel either. And then finally for right now, I've also started Ghost Business by DeLuca. I started this one over audiobook yesterday, and I got to 22% of it last night. This is the sequel to Haunted Ever After, which I read last year and quite enjoyed. Don't really have any thoughts on it so far, but I am liking it enough to continue, but it's definitely not going to be one that sticks with me, I think. I did briefly consider DNFing it just because I wasn't really connecting with the characters at all, but it's a pretty short audiobook, and again, it's a good palate cleanser. I'm feeling a bit slumpy, so I figure it's nice to have something on in the background that I just don't care about a whole lot, but is like nice and easy to get through. So I'll carry on with that one into this coming week as well. I'll probably have it finished up by today or tomorrow, most likely, and then I can cross off another series on my currently reading list as well, so that's always good. Yeah, I think that is it. I think those are all the updates that I've got right now. That sounds about right. Yes, that is everything, so we can wrap up the vlog here. So thank you as always for watching. I appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what you read this week. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video.